and welcome to Autistically, Unapologetic, the unfiltered and unmasked podcast about everything autism. Here's your host, Devin Morrissey.
Hi, and welcome to Autistically Unapologetic with me, Devin Morrissey. I would like to officially welcome you all to episode 21, where today I will be continuing the conversation about autism and music. Now, music has played a huge role in autism and how it emotionally, mentally, verbally, and physically helps us that are on the autism spectrum. Music has been found to help autistic individuals express their emotions and even get through those sensory overloads. Music has also been the passions and the careers of evolving up-and-coming artists, such as that of my next guest. My next guest is an up-and-coming rapper and performer who has performed all across the United States. He is here to talk about his musical journey as an autistic musician and how he uses his music platform to spread hope and encouragement for other autistic and disabled individuals. Please welcome to Autistically Unapologetic, Charles Quigless III, aka C-Quig.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me, man. What a great introduction.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule already to do this. I know that you have a lot that's going on right now. You have a lot of projects up and coming in the works, but just hearing a little bit more about you and the work that you've done, I think it's absolutely inspiring of what you've already accomplished in your life. And I had a previous episode where I talked to another musical guest where we talked a little bit about his musical journey, and I love being able to hear a little bit more about how music plays such a huge role in autism and how it really affects us and really helps us in a strange way as it sounds. So I'm really happy that you're here. We could talk a little bit more about your journey.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's been a roller coaster for sure.
Absolutely. So when I have a guest on, I usually like to start at the very beginning. So my first question for you, C-Quig, is when were you first diagnosed autistic? When did you first find out that you were autistic, and what was your reaction to all of it?
So I was very young. I was about 2.5, 3 years old. 3 years old when I first got diagnosed, and around that time. And so around that time, my memory is a blur. So of course, around that time when I got diagnosed, doctors actually told me that I wouldn't be able to have a verbal conversation, meaning I wouldn't be able to talk to you like how I am right now. And my parents were worried. My mom especially. I remember them telling me how she was in tears, and like she was a little scared and didn't know what to do. And my dad was like, hey, my dad, he's like, hey, we can move about this now, but we finna get to the bottom. We finna get to the bottom of this. So my dad, who's a chiropractor, is actually a chiropractor, by the way. Yeah. So he actually treated he actually treated me when I was younger. He used like his little treatment tools and lasers and things like that while I was sleeping. And then at some point, and then somehow along the way, I was talking. Of course, if I wouldn't, if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be able to even get on the microphone and say what I even need to say, for real.
It's really interesting how your parents were so observant and they knew what was going on at that time. And the fact that your dad was a chiropractor and he was able to figure out while you were asleep, it's amazing. I didn't even know you could even do that. Tell me a little bit about your life growing up autistic. What was that like for you?
Oh, a lot of I guess you can say it's kind of a roller coaster. I say you're gonna hear me say that a lot, bro. I say that a lot, roller
Mm-hmm.
coaster, cause it's crazy. That's how crazy it all is. But it's a roller. But yeah, growing up, it was just a lot of it was cool, but it was also a lot of there was also a lot of lot of there's also a lot of ed, there's a lot of rough edges on the road, you know. Like growing, like I got bullied, like I know I got bullied a lot growing up,
Yeah.
especially in like elementary school, I and like I there was even one kid, there was even one kid that would give me wedgies at one point. Yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I got yeah, yeah, not fun, not fun. By the way,
No.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know where he's at. But anyway, um, yeah, I got bullied a lot. I got bullied a lot, and of course, you started, and of course, when you get this way, when you get bullied like that a certain amount of times, you just kind of start to like you kind of question like yourself. You
Yeah.
kind of question like your self esteem a little bit. You know, like it, like there, like I did, I did have issues with that, and then in fact I still have it. Like I even still have a few issues with that to this day. Yes, I just kind of learned, you know, I just kind of learn to just deal to just kind of like deal with deal with it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just go and just go about my day. Because well, one, look where I'm at, and look where look where they're at. Like that guy that gave me away. I have no clue I have no clue where he is. So like
Exactly, as if he can only look into a crystal ball and see where you're at. I have to say, we kind of come from similar experiences. Like, I've never gotten a wedgie, but in terms of just like being bullied and having your self esteem questioned and having your confidence sort of kind of put into this little box where you feel that you're not special enough, I know exactly where you've come from.
yeah,
It's those traumatic experiences that are so traumatizing that people don't fully realize of how much that does for an autistic individual. It's a matter of when you grow up and you realize it never fully goes away. Like, yeah, the actions are no longer there, but the trauma from it, it still kind of has this everlasting linger, if that makes any sense.
and you and you like start to quit, and you like start to question yourself a lot too. And it's like, man, what's going on? It's like, why are people like, why are people like this, man? And I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta, and then you got your true, them really true, the really true homies
Mm-hmm.
that come through, and they know who they are. They know they know who they are. They know who they are, and like and then what's beautiful, and then like and then I guess there's one beautiful thing about the bullies and like haters. They make you try. They make you try hard. They make you try hard for real.
They
And
really
like
do.
yeah, and that's the like a lot of it. Like a lot of it. That's what drove me into music for real. Cause back then autism autism, like people having autism. A lot of people didn't really know about that, and like it would just be straight up, like if you explain yourself back then, it would just be straight up confusion, and and I thought like like maybe if I explain myself, explain myself, and explain my life in a way that people would enjoy and understand it, and enjoy it, they would leave leave me alone a little bit.
Let's actually talk a little bit about what got you into music. What was your inspiration for starting to sing and write songs? Was it a certain musical genre growing up? Was it a certain musician that inspired you to make your own music?
Man, I loved music growing up. I think music has been a part of me for about as long as I can remember. Like at first, at first, at first it was all hobby, and then what happened, and then what happened was I did theater in middle school. I did a I did a couple show I did a couple shows, and I and then after that first, and then I think after the first year I think after the first year I did it, that's when I realized that how much I like it made me realize how much I liked the stage. I liked the stage, not just in that not just that year, but the years prior to that, to that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and made me realize that man, let me go ahead and do music. Let me just go ahead and do music and put a and I had a nice, and of course I had a, and like I said, I had a nice story to go along with it too. So why not, incorporate that? And then as far as inspiration, as far as like inspirations go, there was a ton, there was a ton I had grown there was a ton I had growing up, and like it is all very, like my catalog, my catalog is very expansive. Like we got Michael Jackson, we
Mm-hmm.
got we got Kid Cudi, Travis Scott, Travis Scott, them them some main them some of the, those some of the main ones for real. Um, but it's very, but yeah, the amount of inspirations is very, of inspirations, and artists I listen to is is very expansive.
People don't realize that music is so universal, and the catalogs that people listen to, especially autistic people, can be so expansive in especially different genres, hip hop, pop, classical, country. People don't realize because music is so universal. And I think what you said there,
Yeah.
it's so expansive, and it gave you that outlet to really start sort of spreading that message. And so, with that being said, I want to actually take you back to about a decade ago, to 2016, when you released your first video on YouTube called Autism. It was a raw cut, and you rap about living autistic so authentically that one of the lyrics in that song says, quote, I might have autism and rap old school, but I've done things that are really cool. I like that rhyme. What made you decide almost a decade ago that you wanted to put yourself out there so openly and so honestly?
Oh, you did your homework. Oh,
Well, that's what this podcast is all about, is always doing the homework before guests come on.
not, yeah, nah. And it's like I did a lot of, and trust me, I did a lot of those, but it's like that, damn, that made me go back that made me go back a bit. Like the fact that it was fact that it was a decade ago, man, man, I gotta do something big for that then. Yeah, just going back to what I said about the the bull the bullies make the bullies, and like doing theater, but making me try harder, and of course theater, and of course around that time, and then it was like around that time, that's when I was starting to get a little curious about my disability, a little bit, like I was asking, like I was having conversation, I had so many questions, and like I talked to him, and like I was talking to my parents about it, and like that's when they told me all these all these stories, about when I got diagnosed, and that part where I talked about when I couldn't, I wasn't able to have a verbal conversation at first.
Mm-hmm.
That was the part that really that was the part that really struck me the most and made me feel like I had a story. I had a story to tell. I had kind of a story that I can tell that no one's ever that like not that no one's really never really heard from a lot of people from a lot of people. You know to say that I almost didn't have a voice and I came out and I get to come out and tell my story in my own word in my own words. That's what kind of that's what kind of drove me to do it was just to go inspire just to go inspire just to go inspire people just to inspire people, you know, let them know that like don't let your disability or whatever you have get in the way of whatever you want in life. And I said and I say I've been saying that for years, and and I always try to stay true, and I always try to stay true to it.
It's the passion and the drive that keeps us on the spectrum going, because a lot of people don't fully realize is that autistic people go through things, but when an autistic person takes their passion and what they enjoy most in life, they take it and they accelerate it far beyond what anyone thinks is possible. And I think that what you mentioned about being able to be so authentically yourself at such a young age is hugely applaudable. And what I love about it now is that you mentioned earlier about you have no idea what the people in your life have treated you are up to now, but it's kind of like, well, if they really want to know what you're up to, they can just easily listen to your music on Spotify or watch you tour around the world. I mean, if that's not a good sense of vengeance, then I don't know. Exactly, catch you on a billboard. Exactly.
On the billboard, social media, they would just never they'll just get tired of seeing my face. Like
they have to get used to it. That's just the reality. Autism is not going anywhere.
Like, remember you tried to stomp on me? Guess what? I'm everywhere.
Yes, you are.
You know? Yeah. And we just growing too.
The best is truly yet to come for sure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but according to your official website, you are 23 years old and a full-time college student studying commercial music while you're working on your musical craft as a rapper, singer, and performer. How do you balance your passion of being an up-and-coming performer and your full-time commitment to college at the same time? I personally could not do it, and I definitely was not able to do that when I was in college.
Yeah. So a bit of an update, and then I'm gonna answer your question anyway. So I'm actually not in school at the moment. So I actually took a break. So I actually took a break from it. So I actually can do the music full time. Yeah, very stress, but yeah, very stressful. Not all gummy drops and rainbows, kids. But yeah, very stressful at the time. The opportunity, like I remember when I was really when I was really starting to when I was really starting to travel for my music. It was like that was the most stress. I think that was the most stressful part when I get booked for all these things, because I had I had to, because like not only it had to align with my school schedule.
Yes.
And also the fact that I didn't really have a car. I didn't really have a car at the time. So like
really?
When I go to these shows, yeah. Like when I go to these shows, when I go to these shows, it's been me and my dad. It's been me and my dad. Like he traveled, like this man traveled, like this man basically my manager, he travels with me everywhere. but nah, this man had to drive 2 hour 2 hours to come 2 hours there to come pick me up, 2 hours back, catch a flight,
Oh my
catch a
gosh.
flight. We're there usually. We're there usually a weekend. We're there usually a weekend, and then we take an early, and then we take a early flight back, and then I'm, and then I'm at home, and then I go home for a bit, and then I'm driving back, and then I'm driving back, and then I'm driving back to school, and you know it, and yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot at the time. It was a lot at the time, because because I struggled. It was a lot at the time, and it was like, and it took a really big mental toll. It took a really big mental toll on me, and I think
Mhm.
after a while, and it was like, after a while, it was like, it was I felt like, I had to kind of take a step back from 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 the, at least from school,
Mhm.
from the school stuff, because that's where most of the stress that's where most of the stress came that's where most of the stress came from. Yeah, man, it was definitely a roller coaster, but you know, we we still, and we're still out here too. We're still out here.
Mhm.
um Shout out to all the college, shout out to all the college homies that are watching. That's one thing about, that's one thing about college that I miss, the homies.
Mhm.
Um Having that, just having that community.
Yeah, having
But
that supportive community in college is such an important aspect for an autistic student that I don't think people realize. But the good thing about college is that you can always go back at any time in your life. There's not necessarily a time span for you to go and get a degree like a lot of people think. Society has put this weird pressure on our generation that, oh, you need to go to college within 4 years and graduate from that in 4 years. But that's not always the case, especially
yeah,
in our autism community. It can take years before we get a degree, and some people even take the time off. And it's so nice that it's finally being seen as accepting that, hey, I need to take time away from school to focus on me, to focus on your music, and actually have it be seen as socially acceptable. It's super important, especially in these
yeah,
times.
yeah. You're hitting heavy on the nail. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you something. My mom, we butted. So over the years, we butted head, we butted heads a lot about school. She really, and then it was like, I don't know. I don't know where I don't know what her mind. I always know what her mindset is,
Mm-hmm.
completely. But yeah, yeah. She just really, she was always very pushy about me and finishing school. Like, even when I left school,
Mm-hmm.
me and her butted heads a lot. Like, she was not very excited. Like, she was not
Mm-hmm.
very excited when I left, and that became that became a whole situation, and that became a whole situation within itself. Yeah, just like you said, bro. Like, that even effects like that just kind of takes that sort of mental toll,
Mm-hmm.
cause it's like, cause I'm not gonna lie. When I left, cause when I left school, I felt like it was just me against the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was me. It was kind of like me myself against the world. Cause even though it was like, people support, people support my, even though my mom said, even though, like, people said they supported me, and they say they support me, there's also a side of, there's also like a side of you that also thinks you kind of failed, you kind of failed you kind of failed them a
Yeah.
bit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that you feel that you kind of feel like failure. And I'm not gonna lie, it did feel like I was kind of guilt guilt that there's been times where I felt like I've been guilt tripped into going back, going back, and it was like there was just so much, and there was just so much at the time where going on the time where I just didn't have the energy.
Yeah.
I don't like I was burnt out. I was just
Yes.
I was burnt. I was burnt out, out, burnt, burnt out. You know, people wanted expecting so much from me
Yes.
out of every, out of every, out of everything. You know, like I love, and I love music. It was like I love music, and I want to make, I wanted to, I want to make my family, my people's happy and everything else. But when it comes to a certain level, it's like sometimes you got to choose between one or the other. At that moment, I wanted to take the path that I wanted to take, and that was music, and that was music.
And something that you brought up is so important that I do not think the neurotypical people understand is that autistic burnout is a huge thing. When we are put in extremely stressful environments, that can cause our mental health to go way over our heads because we are so focused on impressing others that we don't take the time to truly focus on what we as an individual want to do with our lives. And so I think that you really hit the nail on the head with the fact that, hey, school is always going to be there. It's not going to go away, but right now this is an important time of my life where my music matters more than education. And there's really nothing wrong with that. Life is meant to happen for a reason. And at that time in your life and in this time in your life, music is really the focal point. And I really applaud you for being so vocal and open and honest about it, because a lot of people would just cave in and say, hey, I am going to still stay at school, and focus on that. Whereas other people are just saying, you know what, school will always be there, but right now, my career, this is where it's going, and I'm going to go this way. And I actually want to talk a little bit about your music. Yeah. You were able to achieve a lifelong dream of releasing your own music when you released your debut album, Young Dreamers, in 2022. Now, what was the inspiration behind your first album, and are there any standout songs on the album that mean the most to you?
Oh yeah, Young Dreamers. It was definitely a moment within itself. I made in the span of 3 years. When I was graduating out of high school, going into college, doing college. I was that, I was that kid, being that kid, with with a big dreams, and trying to exceed myself, be myself, try to get to where I needed to be. Around that time, man, I was motivated. I was motivated. I had people looking at me. Around that time, the Flutie Foundation was coming towards me with all these different opportunities. Like I was just blessed, man. And I know that, like, at this day, and it was like at this stage in the game, by working this hard and getting these many opportunities, I feel like you get this feeling of you gonna make it.
Yes.
Like you're like, you ain't there yet, but you finna get there. And plus I did like a Super Bowl like fashion show. So one year, and that's what really boosted me. Just going to LA and doing a gig surrounding the Super Bowl. I'm like, who gets to do that, man? Who gets to do that? I just wanted to channel all that and the positive energy, and I was keeping up, and of course I wanted to keep up with the theme that I had, keep up with the theme of the positive music and like being an inspiration to people, because that was always my main thing. That was always my main thing in terms of music, talking about my life, at the time, while also giving people some awesome life lessons, like, and try to give them some real life advice that that at least I keep with me. The album has something for everybody. I like to say I like to say that my music sometimes is like a spectrum because it's
Oh,
because you know how when you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism.
yep.
Well, when you hear one C-Quig song, you only hear one C-Quig song. So listen
Oh,
to
I like that.
there you go. There you go.
That is really cool, actually. I like the comparison. If you heard just one song from this album, you really only heard one song. That is such a great analogy right there in itself.
Thank you. I came up with that one not too long ago, actually. But yeah, some favorites. There's so many, but I'm gonna name some of them. And anyway, we got Focus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we got Knowledge.
Hmm.
That's a good one. We got this song, Blue. Blue's my fave. Blue. That's my favorite song. And then the album closer, Living Life. But to be real, but the whole album, all bangers. So you gotta listen to the whole thing. You gotta listen to the whole thing. Is and then same with my first EP too. Against All Odds, gotta listen to the whole thing. Again, something for everybody.
What I love what you just said there is that you have to listen to the whole EP or listen to the whole album. That is so accurate because we live in a time where our era of how we grew up with music, where you actually buy the whole album, is kind of not a thing anymore. You just listen to maybe one or two songs from the album and that's it. It shouldn't be the case. Every song on an album is super important and it adds up. And what I love hearing you saying is that you have to listen to the whole extended play or listen to the whole album, because if you heard one song, it's only just one song. It's a spectrum of music. And that is so amazing that you make that analogy. It's because we really only listen to just one or two songs from an album. We really don't get to enjoy the full product of an album that an artist has worked their whole lives for. So I am definitely going to have to check out Young Dreamers for sure. Now, on this last episode of this podcast, I had Rachel Barcelona as my guest, which is someone that I know you know very well. And she
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about a foundation that you both belong to. You are currently a member of the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism, and
Yer.
also sang and wrote on their collaborative album Stars of the Spectrum. What did it mean for you to be a part of this project, and what did it mean for you to share the stage this past summer with legendary R&B icon Faith Evans?
Ooh, what a summer! What a like, come on, man. First off, Faith Evans, that was awesome to be able to share the stage with her. Yeah, it was so cool. I grew up listening to Faith, listening to some of her some of her songs, and the fact that I ended up on her stage is incredible. Not the flex, but I also got a follow from her as well on Instagram. So
Hmm.
bit of
She
a
follows
flex.
you on Instagram?
Oh
My
man.
gosh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, she follows me on Instagram. And then fun fact, that wasn't even the first time I met Dave. So
Really?
yeah, man, I did a show back in it was like 2022. It was in Houston. It was an event. She was there. She was getting honored, and I was slated
Mhm.
to perform. I got a photo op with her, and she straight up said, "This boy look just like Babyface."
Oh, that must have been such a great comment coming from probably one of the best singers in R&B soul music of the 90s and the 2000s. That must have been huge for you.
Oh man, I geek, man, especially when I got that Instagram follow, and that was through conversation. That Instagram follow happened through conversation. Like we ran into each other, man, that same night, and we talked a little bit. And this woman personally asked for my Instagram. I was like, hey, and I gave it to her and was like, here you go. Here you go. Pleasure to share the stage with you. Happy as a clown, man. Went home feeling like nobody could tell me. Yeah.
There's honestly nothing like meeting one of your idols that you have grown up listening to for a long, long, long time. But then to have that idol actually tell you that you're something special and to keep in touch with you after all this time. That's a friendship in itself, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Now, to end a pretty phenomenal 2024 for you, which I know that you have had, you dropped a new single called Take Some Time. What inspired you to write this song, and is there a new album from you in the works?
Oh, yeah, Take Some Time was it was definitely something, man. I love that song. I love that song for real. Take Some Time came about last year. So for a couple years now, I've had this little studio. Yeah, it started off as an intern, and while being here, I've actually gotten deep into producer bag a little bit. There was one day I came in. All I could think about was Charlie Wilson and 80s music, and I was like, you know what? Let's make an 80s type song. And then next thing you know, I just got cooking on a beat, and then the lyrics just flew out of me. I was very proud of that record too. I don't know, it felt like my music was just transitioning in a way, like I was giving people like a fresh taste of C-Quig, and you know, and this is how we coming. If you don't mind, I want to get back to your little Stars of Spectrum pressing.
Of course.
I just straight up talked about faith and then skipped past the other Stars album and Flutie. That meant a lot to me as well. I came into Flutie Foundation. I started working with the Flutie Foundation back in 2020. They asked me to be in a little Facebook live show, and you know, ever since then they gave me another life in a time that it was uncertain if I would be able to even be an artist, because it was during COVID. It was during COVID. Yeah, ever since I started getting with them, I started traveling, bought a bunch of opportunities. I met my girl. I met my girlfriend over there. So I felt obligated to at least play a big role in their album. I'm on like half the album. Granted, like half the album, brother.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So not only you were able to be a part of like a good chunk of this album, but you also found a girlfriend while you were a part of this foundation. That's incredible. You kind of had a whole grand slam with that. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. She's the greatest too. We're still together to this day.
That's awesome.
We met literally at the first event I did at the Flutie Foundation. And she was there, and we just clicked instantly. We were like besties for a bit, and then one thing led to another, and then it's like the love just kind of grew, and then you know the love just kind of grew just slowly but gradually. And yeah, man, she's amazing, man. She really the best person out here, and I love her to death. I love her to death for her. Yeah, shout out my baby.
So my last question for you, C-Quig, is this. The music industry is beginning to open its doors to autistic talent and showcase the musical talents of Susan Boyle, Cody Lee, Aiden Boyer, and obviously you, of course, C-Quig. What types of advice would you like to give to all of those autistic kids out there who want to pursue a career in singing and songwriting while trying to find their voice?
My biggest thing is this. One, be yourself. Don't be afraid to do that, because at the end of the day, somebody's gonna love you regardless. So just stay true. So just stay true to that, and that audience is gonna come through. Just gonna come through as you go. Being authentic, because being authentic selves, like when I come on here and do interviews and things like that, and or even when I'm on stage, man, I always like to come out there and just be authentic. You know what I'm saying? I don't like putting up a front. I don't like being fake. I already had to mask myself for most of my life. So it's like when I do music, music is supposed to be a way to really express myself. And yeah, don't let anybody stop. And don't let anybody stop you either. Because listen, the only person that can stop you is yourself. Let the haters keep talking. Just keep going, bro.
Exactly. Let the haters use you as motivators to continue to succeed.
Yes, sir. That's the thing. Haters are motivators.
I could not agree more fully to that. My personal thanks to C-Quig for coming on today and having such a wonderfully honest conversation. Make sure to check out his music, including his latest single, Take Some Time, on any streaming musical platform that you can think of, including Spotify and Apple Music. If you like what you heard on this episode and want to hear other episodes or stay tuned for future ones, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm Devin Morrissey, and I'll see you next time right here on Autistically Unapologetic.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Autistically Unapologetic with Devin Morrissey. If you like what you hear and you want to see more, don't forget to rate and subscribe to stay tuned for future episodes. Again, thanks for listening.